In this video, we will deploy an ISAM v9 lab environment. We will perform the following steps. 1. Create EC2 security groups. 2. Launch an ISAM virtual appliance selected from the AWS marketplace in EC2. 3. Accept ISAM licensing terms and set host identity. 3. Apply ISAM trial license. 5. Configure ISAM runtime environment. 6. Create test users. 7. Create and configure ISAM reverse proxy. 8. Configure AAC. 9. Generate user authentication data. We will create the ISAM lab environment one time and use it for both the manual and automated ISAM v9 DB2 runtime database externalization. The prerequisites to complete this for procedures are the following. 1. A paid Amazon Web Service AWS account. An SSH client. A previously configured EC2 key pair. 4. An ISAM trial key. First, we're going to create the security group. We will be creating 2 EC2 security groups. 1, Ansible Docker, and the second one is ISAM version 9. First, we log into AWS, and from the main service page, AWS service page, go to EC2. Narrate network and security group. Create security group. On the security group, we're going to create the Ansible Docker Ubuntu. On description will be the same. We will not add the group rule yet. Click on Create Security Group. Create security group for ISAM version 9. The security group name. Will be ISAM v9. The description will be the same name as security group name. We will not add the rule yet. Create security rule. Now we complete the create the security rule. Now we will add the rule. The reasons I did not add the rule initially because this security rule will refer to each other, but they can't do that until I create them first. So click on Ansible Docker Ubuntu and go to Action, Edit Inbound Rule. First, we will create the SSH. That will allow me to log into the instance, and I will restrict the inbound connection range to specifically my own ID. Next, I will add another rule. This rule will allow all traffic from the source ISAM, all traffic from the source ISAM v9. This will apply to the ISAM v9 security group, which I will attach to the ISAM version 9 virtual appliance instance when I create it. Click the Save rule. Now select the ISAM v9. Action will be Edit Inbound rule. Click on Add rule. First, I will create a rule that allows SSH for my IP. Next, I will add a rule that allows me to connect via HTTPS for my IP. This will allow me to access the ISAM virtual appliance local management interface. Next, I will add a custom TCP rule for port 444. For my IP, when I configure ISAM verse proxy. Last rule that I need to add is for all traffic. I will allow all traffic that originates from the Ansible Docker Ubuntu host, which I will attach this security group to when I create it. Click on Save Rule. I have now created my security groups. Next, I'm going to launch my ISAM virtual appliance. I'm going to navigate to Instance. Launch instance. Select AWS Marketplace. Is ISAM. Just enter. And select the IBM Security Asset Manager version 9. Click Continue. Choose the T2 medium. Click Next, config instance details. Accept all the defaults. Click on Next, add storage. Accept the defaults size 101 gig. Click Next, add tags. Click on Add Tag button. Key name. And the value ISAM v9. Click on Next, configure security group. Since we already have the we already create the security group, So we select an existing security group and select the ISAM version 9. And review and launch. Launch the instance. At prerequisites, we're supposed to have the key pair. So we choose an existing key pair and then check on acknowledge, launch the instance. On the service, click on EC2. Select the ISAM version 9. On the description tab for the ISAM version 9 instance, locate your ISAM v9 instance ID and the DNS, locate your ISAM version 9 instance ID and the public DNS name. Record these two values for your future reference. This is your public DNS. In your browser, Firefox, Edge, or Safari, enter the following. And we use DNS, the public, copy the IP, the public IPv4 DNS. To log into the appliance. Now we will getting SSL warning because the appliance is presenting an SSL certificate. Does it not from a trusted CA according to our browsers trust store? So if we want to continue connecting, we are going to have to accept this reach to process. Now we log into LMI. We need to provide the instant ID at our password. So copy the instance. The user is admin and the password is the instant ID. Now we log on to the LMI. We are at the license accept step. This is sometimes referred to as first step. We have to refer to we have to proceed through this before we can activate the appliance. We will need to agree to the term and conditions and licensing as well. Click next. On the 140.2 mode configuration, accept the default and click on next page. We will not update any select any licenses. So click on next page. We will not do any snapshots. So click on next page. On the administration setting, click on the next page. On the networking configuration, we need to update the host name to be ISAM.test.com. Save the update. and click on next page. The time is correct. And we we will not enable the NTP at this time. Click next page. And this time I will click next page on complete setup. We will reconnect to the LMI. The initial setup has completed. I have reconnect to the LMI, and now we can see we are at a different landing page. And we see home, monitor, secure, and manage. At this time, the appliance is not activated. We do not have access to the web. ACC and federation capability, which will only be enabled when we apply either a licensing or a trial key. We will be applying a trial key. We have previously requested and downloaded an ISAM trial key from the ISAM trial site, and we will now apply it. We will click on Manage System Setting. Update and client and licensing trial. We will click on import button. We will click on select the navigate the license, the child file. Click on Save Config, and it now applies the child license. It will take a moment for authenticate the certificate. Upon successful applying the ISAM trial key, the LMI will restart and a blue banner pop up will appear containing a link which read, click here to return to the local management interface. So click on the link to return to LMI. Now we are back in the local interface. Now we have 7 items, where previous we have 4. We now have access to web, AAC, and federation. Next, we will set up the password for embedded ISAM LDAP server. We will navigate from secure web setting, manage runtime component, we click on config. Actually, we changed the, hold on. Sorry, I make a mistake. Okay, we actually navigate to secure web setting. Secure web setting. Runtime manage. Manage runtime component. And then click on manage embedded LDAP, change password. The administration password will be we will enter the capital P, A, S, S, W, 0, R, D. confirm administration password, same thing, capital P, ASSW 0RD. Submit, click on submit button. And deploying. Click on deploy. Next, we will configure the ISAM runtime environment. We'll navigate from security web setting. Click on the configure button. For policy server, we will select local. For the user registry, we will select the LDAP local. And click on next. For administrator password, capital P, ASSW0RD. Confirm the same password. Capital P, ASSW0RD. And click on finish. Now the configure has completed. The status of runtime environment had changed to available, as you can see. Next, we are going to create our test user. Create by test user. We will use this user later to generate AAC authentication state data in the runtime database. Now we will be logged into the ISAM console using SSH. We will be doing that through a terminal session. And SSH, we type SSH -I. Yeah, I need to go into the, so go into your directory, which have the key file. Okay, so Julia, that's my key file. So SSH minus I Julia Pam. Admin at that's a username at we need the DNS. And hi, yes. We are now logged into the ISAM console. Hi, ISAM. We will invoke the command line interface for ISAM, which in previous product version was known as PD admin. Now we log into log in and type. You will log in using sec master within the password capital PASSWOR 0RD. So sec master password capital PASSW0RD. The password capital PASS 0RD. This is the value we set when we configure runtime environment. Now we are logged into the PD admin command line interface, and we will enter our user create command first for the first user. User 1. User create user 001 UID equal user 001 comma DC equal 1 WIWGA. So for user 001, this is a short user ID, which will specify when we log into the reverse proxy. This is the full qualifying LDAP DN, which is synonymous to the user ID within LDAP. This is synonymous with the first name or common name of the user. The 001 is synonymous with the surname or last name of the user. And password just is standard password. And password is for the user. Press Enter key. That command has now completed, and we have one more step that we have to perform for this user. we have to perform for this user with to set them their account valid to yet. Just because the account exists, that does not mean it has to be valid. If we want to prevent this user from being able to log in without deleting the account, we can update their account valid flag to no. And it's set to no by default, which is why we have to set it to yes in order for the user to be able to authenticate to the reverse proxy and log in. So we have four more user to create. We do the same thing with the user 2. And modify user 3. And modify user 3. User 4. User 4. Modify user 4. User 5. And modify user 5. Sure. Username. Now log out of PD admin and log out of the ISAM console. The ISAM test user are now created. Now we're going to create the revert proxy. In this section, we will create an ISAM reverse proxy. In the ISAM V9 LMI, navigate to secure web setting. Manage revert proxy. Click the new button. For the instance name, enter the value default. And for the IP address of the, for instance, for the primary interface, enter 0.0.0.0. Click on the next button. For the IBM Security Access Manager tab, for the administrator password, enter capital P, A, S, S, W, 0, R, D. Click on the next button. In the transport tab, ensure that the enable HTTP is checked. And the HTTPS port is set to value 444. Click the finish button. The ISAM reverse proxy is now configured. Now we configure the reverse proxy for DSC. In the ISAM V9 LMI, navigate to secure web setting. Manage reverse proxy. Select the default and click on the edit button. Click on the session tab on and select Enable Distribute Session Cache. Click the Save button. Click here to review, to change, or apply them to the system. Click on Deploying. Ensure the default reverse proxy is selected and click the Restart button. The reverse proxy is now configured and for the DSC. Set the user password required by the ACAC component. In the ISAM v9 LMI, navigate to Security Access. Secure Access Control. Global setting. User registry. In the User tab, select User. Click on the Set Password button. In the New Password, and enter the value capital P ASSW 0RD. Confirm new password. Capital P ASSW 0RD. Click OK. Click here and deploy. The user password is now updated. Now we configure the AAC. Navigate to Secure Web Setting. Manage reverse proxy. Select the default reverse proxy and click Manage. AAC and Federation configure authentication and context-based access configuration. In the authentication and context-based access configuration dialog, click the next button. In the AAC runtime tab, in the password field, enter the value capital P A S S W 0 R D. Leave all the other values unchanged. Click the Finish button. Deploy the unchanged. Deploy the pending changes. Ensure the default reverse proxy instance is selected and click the Restart button. AAC is now configured for the default reverse proxy. Now configure the user password authentication mechanism for AAC. Navigate to Secure Access Control. Policy, authentication, click the mechanism link. Scroll down and select the user name, password, method. Click on the Modify Authentication Mechanism button. Select the Property tab. Enter name on LDAP by EN. The value CN equal root sec authority equal default. LDAP by password. Capital P ASSW 0RD. LDAP hostname. Type local host. Click OK. Click on Save. Deploying the pending change. The user password authentication mechanism is now configured. Restart the ISAM virtual appliance. Now, navigate to manage system setting. Manage system setting. System settings. Restart or shut down. And press on restart. And enter yes. Okay, the ISAM virtual appliance has restarted, and we have reconnected. The next thing we will do, we will create user session. We need to open another browser. We will enter the same host name. So we go to the instance. And the host name is the DNS. Copy it. Yes, colon. But we will connect on port 444. Colon 444. We will add some additional URI information so that we can connect to reverse proxy and invoke the EULA URL. Username, log into the test data. So we have 5 testing users, and we will be using lab environment to validate runtime database, local deployment to a remote deployment in a DB2 database. We want to be able to demonstrate that we are pursuing preserving our session data. When we accept the enterprise user license agreement, we are generating user session data. So what we are going to do next, we are going to log in with some of our user and accept the EULA, but leave the others unchanged. Once we complete the migration from the local runtime database to the remote DB2 database, we will use this user to log in and determine if we get challenged to accept the EULA or not. We will accept the EULA for user 002 and user 004. We will not accept the EULA for user 001, user 003, and user 005. Once we do our migration from our local runtime database to our remote runtime database, we should see that user 001, user 003, and user 005 get challenged to accept the EULA on the first login, but user 002 and user 004 do not. This will demonstrate that the user authentication state data has been successfully migrated. So now we log in at user 002. And password is capital PASSW0RD. Log in. Don't save. We will accept the EULA. If we either log in on user 2 or user 004, we will not get the ELU form because that is a one-time prompt. And the runtime database holds the data that provided that functionality. Okay, so now we log in again. Okay, let me see. See. Yeah. Since we already accept the EULA, we don't get the prompt challenging from prompt because it's one time only. Right? So now I'm going to create another one for user 4. So since user 4, this is the first time, so we get the prompt and select the accept the EULA, submit. Now, if we type log into user one, ASS. We will get the EULA from. Because it's the first time log in. And again, we're going to do number 3. User 003. And now you get the, because it's the first time, so you get the challenge to accept the ECCL. User 005 and the password oh, something wrong. User 005. As you can see, this is user 5. And because it's the first time log in, so it's have the challenge EULA, but we will not accept it. So when we complete our migration, we will check this again and make sure that the behavior accord to our expectations. This completes the creation of user session data and also completed the setup of the ISAM version 9 virtual appliance lab environment. Thank you.